Welcome to Death Diaries. To support this channel, please subscribe. The death of Chester Bennington. On July 20th, 2017, the renowned lead singer of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, was discovered lifeless within his residence in Palos Verdes, California. This tragic event marked the conclusion of Chester Bennington's life at the age of 41. The cause of his passing was attributed to suicide by hanging. To this day, people find it challenging to comprehend why this self-made rock legend, who was also a devoted husband and the father of 6 children, chose to take his own life. In this episode, we will delve into the circumstances surrounding Chester's demise and seek to understand the motivations behind his actions. Officially, it was confirmed as a case of self-inflicted death by hanging. This shocking news sent tremors through the music industry, as Chester was not only a devoted father of 6, but also a globally recognized rock icon and a cherished friend to many. Regrettably, the challenges that Chester faced throughout his life were extensively documented, both through his candid interviews and his artistic expressions. However, Chester Bennington transcended mere struggles. He was more than just an artist and a performer. Born in Phoenix, Arizona, Chester spent the majority of his formative years there, but these supposedly joyous and carefree times played a pivotal role in the recurring difficulties that he faced later in life. From ages 7 to 13, Bennington was a victim of sexual abuse, a traumatic experience he later described in an interview, where he stated, "It escalated from a curious, touchy exploration into full-blown violations. I endured physical and emotional abuse that shattered my self-esteem. Like many, I was too terrified to speak out for fear of being labelled or disbelieved. This torment persisted until I turned 13. To compound his hardships, Chester's father, a detective, was involved in investigating child abuse cases, yet Chester chose to remain silent, primarily due to his previous fears and the potential stigma of being labelled a liar. When he was 11, his parents divorced, and he began living with his father, separate from his mother. By that time, 2 of his siblings had already moved away from their father's home, and his other sister was rarely present. As a police officer, Chester's father often worked long, exhausting shifts, leaving Chester feeling ignored and isolated at home. Consequently, Bennington grappled with his inner demons during this period, and this was when his tumultuous relationship with alcohol began, which he referred to as his dark passenger. Ironically, it was during this time that Chester sought solace in art, expressing his inner turmoil through writing, poetry, and early songs, as well as through visual art. He also immersed himself in music, finding refuge in other bands. When creating music and poetry ceased to provide an escape from his depression, a young Chester resorted to the abuse of substances such as drugs and alcohol. As the pressures of life intensified, so did his dependency on these destructive habits. However, a pivotal moment arrived in the year 2000 when Linkin Park released their debut album, Hybrid Theory. Overnight, this 24-year-old frontman, with a distinctive voice, catapulted into the ranks of the world's most revered rock icons. This era marked the zenith of nu metal, and Linkin Park emerged as the genre's new standard-bearer, alongside bands like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Deftones, Papa Roach, and others. But did Chester's newfound fame and success put an end to his depression and substance abuse? Regrettably, it did not. Each time he grappled with pressure or the weight of depression, Chester sought solace in drugs and alcohol repeatedly. He harbored immense self-loathing for this cycle. Despite his aspirations to be a good husband, a responsible parent, and an upstanding individual, was Chester lacking in strength? Let's not oversimplify matters. Chester's circumstances were far from ordinary. The term depression has been mentioned frequently here, but what he endured transcended mere sadness. It wasn't even standard depression. Rather, his diagnosis was clinical depression. It put it into perspective. If sadness registers at a 5 on a scale of 1 to 100 and depression at 50, clinical depression would be an overwhelming 1,000. It's akin to a bottomless abyss, a profoundly dark mental state that necessitates professional intervention. Escaping the clutches of clinical depression is an arduous journey that typically requires professional assistance. Now, let's delve into the events leading up to Chester's untimely passing, specifically two pivotal moments in 2017 that profoundly impacted him. The initial blow was the tragic demise of Chris Cornell, the lead vocalist of Soundgarden, who happened to be Chester's closest friend, mentor, and a figure that he held in immense reverence. There was an unparalleled understanding between Chester and Chris, both having endured troubled childhoods, battled depression, and grappled with addiction. Chris Cornell's suicide on the 18th of May 2017 struck Chester with a devastating force. The second grievous blow came with the release of Linkin Park's latest album, coincidentally dropped on May the 19th, just one day after Cornell's tragic passing. While the album's release itself appeared to proceed smoothly, garnering anticipation from fans and critics alike, the feedback, particularly from Linkin Park's long-term admirers, was exceedingly harsh. To put it bluntly, the reviews were scathing. Between May and July of 2017, Chester found himself on unstable ground. His best friend was gone, and the new album was being lambasted by fans. In the face of adversity, Chester summoned the courage to confront his challenges. He had managed to stay away from drugs and alcohol for 6 months, even as life presented its relentless hardships. Seeking solace and respite, Chester embarked on a family vacation to their cabin near the Grand Canyon in Arizona, a serene location for communing with nature and unwinding. However, it remains unclear whether Chester truly found the peace that he was looking for on this getaway. What we do know is that he abruptly terminated the vacation, informing his family that he needed to return home prematurely for a television commercial shoot. He returned to Los Angeles alone, setting the stage for the tragic events that would follow. On the fateful late night of the 20th of July, Chester found himself alone at his residence in Palos Verdes, locked in a fierce struggle with his all-too-familiar inner demons. Despite maintaining sobriety for 6 months, the recent weeks had been exceptionally challenging. He yearned for the companionship of a friend, but Chris was no longer there. To compound the anguish, July 20th happened to be Chris's birthday. As the night wore on, Chester, in a moment of vulnerability, uncorked a bottle, then another, succumbing to the allure of relapse. He was acutely aware that he couldn't halt this downward spiral. It was too late, and he was spiraling further into darkness. Tomorrow, when his family arrived, they would encounter a man who had pledged sobriety, now drowning in alcohol and misery. The torment of this realization weighed upon him heavily, echoing the haunting refrain, "Oh no, not again." In a distressing and tumultuous moment, an unsettling and irrational idea takes root in Chester's mind, an idea suggesting that there is only one viable means to halt this downward spiral. With a heavy heart, Chester retrieves his belt and proceeds towards the door that divides the bedroom from the bathroom and walk-in closet. The ensuing event shall not be depicted here. Tragically, it is the housekeeper who stumbles upon Chester's lifeless body at approximately 9 a.m. This account has undoubtedly been one of the most heart-wrenching stories that we've presented. Chester should never have yielded to his inner turmoil that fateful night, nor should he have taken the actions that he did. Regardless of where you find yourself, if you grapple with depression or are besieged by thoughts of self-harm, please seek assistance. To support our channel, please subscribe, and we look forward to presenting more videos.